Hello, welcome to English 1. This is Professor Neil. This is Unit 7, Part 1, What Does He Do? And this is my TA, Younghee.
Hello, TA Younghee.
So Younghee, in the picture, what does he do?
He's falling. But he has parachute. Is he parachuting?
It looks like he is parachuting or he skydives.
Skydive?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or parachutes. So with a parachute, he parachutes out of an airplane. But yeah, that's an activity. Maybe it's his job. Maybe it's his occupation. Maybe it is something that he does that is his occupation.
What's occupation?
Good question, Younghee. And that's why we have a warm-up to talk about jobs. And
jobs? But Professor, you're talking about occupation.
Yes. But it is one device.
What?
It is the same thing.
Occupation is iPhone?
No. But we're calling it the same thing.
Same thing.
Yes.
So job and occupation is same thing?
In a way, yes. They are connected. Like iPhone and Steve Jobs are connected, jobs and occupation are connected. So to show you what this means, we're going to show you the definition. So what is a job?
What does it mean? That's what did you say?
What is a job?
What is your job? Professor, you said something in the
Definition.
Definition.
Yeah.
What is the definition of a job?
Yes, a job is a paid position of employment. That is a definition. And I got this definition from looking on Google. Alright, so for example, if you type job ESL, ESL stands for English Second Language Learners, on the internet, it will show you lots of jobs. So you can see here, jobs. But you see here, it's got this occu. What is the occupation?
Occu.
Yes, occu. Alright. Yes, that's
Sorry, occupation.
Yes. So we got job. So if you type into Google, when you got the all section, job definition, throws up the dictionary and it gives you the word job. So you hear, if you search google.co at search q Google dictionary, you get the Google dictionary, which gives you 3 billion results for job. You can see here, it says job under dictionary.
Job.
And you're still asking, what's the connection with occupation? Well, a job is a paid position of regular employment. That's the definition. This is the definition. And then it has similar words. Position, post, situation. These all sort of mean job until you get to this one here, occupation.
Occupation.
So we ask, what is an occupation?
Occupation is a job.
Brilliant. Wonderful. Yes, an occupation is a job. Now, you think that's Professor Neil's words? No, this is not Professor Neil's words. As we said, if you type in occupation ESL, you see it says jobs, occupation, jobs, occupations, jobs, occupation, and so on down the list. Because jobs, like iPhone, Steve Jobs and iPhone are connected, job and occupation are connected. There is a connection. And you can see here.
Occupation.
An occupation is a job or profession. Job, day job, profession, work. They are connected. They're not exactly the same thing, because you can see here, occupation sometimes means hobby. What? You ask? Well, we're going to get into that into the second part of Unit 1.
I know. Job is a paid occupation.
Yes. A job is a paid occupation. Your hobby You don't get paid for it unless you're very lucky. Now, similar. So thank you, Steve Jobs, for introducing us to the word jobs and occupation, and introducing us to the iPhone, which helped Korea, because then there was Samsung. And Samsung and Galaxy and iPhone, they're all connected. And maybe if you're lucky, you'll get a job with one of those. Alright, or you'll get an occupation with them. And here, in Unit 1, in the starter, we have occupations. Oh, sorry, go back. And it says here, match the words with the pictures. Here are your pictures. Here are the words. And so, as we said, a job is an occupation. So someone might ask you the question, what does he do?
He is an architect.
Yes. He is an architect. So, Youngie, you have any question?
We learned this. What does he do? What do you do in the previous units?
Yes.
And normally, it also means what are you doing now at the moment? What activity you're doing?
Can do.
But then we learned that it also refers to meaning of what is your job.
Yes, job and occupation. So you could say, what does he do? He draws a picture. But this phrase also means, what is your job? So what does he do? He is an architect.
Professor Neil, what do you do?
I teach English. I am a professor of English. Okay. And because it's he, we say it comes down here into the answer he. Because he is a man. That's a little bit more. So we're going to go through the different occupations, but we're going to change the question a little bit. From what does he do? Because we're focusing on occupations here. So we want to put occupation into the question. What is his occupation? Meaning, what is his job?
Then his occupation is architect.
Is one option, or
He is an architect.
yes, same answer as before. What does he do? He is an architect. What is his occupation? He is an architect. What is his job? He is an architect. They're all connected and they're all related, but they're not the same thing, they're just similar. And his here becomes he.
Because it's a subject position, it has to be he.
Very good, yes. So, first one, architect. And the next one is, what is her occupation, Yongi?
She is a chef.
She is a chef. Chef. We're just going to go through these fairly quickly now. What is his occupation?
There are two guys.
Sorry, the man standing up with the waistcoat and holding the bottle of wine.
Okay. He is a waiter.
He is a waiter. Now, waiter, if it's a she, would be waitress.
Waitress.
You can have two here, waiter, waitress.
Like an actor and actress.
Yeah, and if you look on page 53 in Speaking 1, you'll see Kate is a waitress. So we'll come to that shortly. So the next one, what is his occupation?
He is a lawyer.
He is a lawyer, yes. His occupation is lawyer. He is a lawyer. And then we got, what is her occupation?
She is a flight attendant.
She is a flight attendant. Yes. What is his occupation?
Is he director?
Oh,
Actor?
yes. The picture is not clear. But yes, actor.
He is an actor.
But if it's a she...
She is an actress.
Very good, yes. So again, like waiter and waitress, we have actor and actress. And then we have What is her occupation?
She is a cashier.
She is a cashier. Yes, she is a cashier. And the last one. Oh, there we go. What is her occupation?
She's answering the phone at the same time writing a note. More likely to be okay. She is a secretary.
Secretary. Difficult one that on the pronunciation, so practice it because you might be having to say it soon. She is a secretary. Yes, she is on the phone. She is making notes or writing down a message. So yes, like our secretary here or TA, Yongi, make notes. So we have architect, chef, waiter, lawyer, flight attendant, actor, cashier, and secretary. And we would say like, he is an architect, she is a chef, he is a lawyer. But there are other options, and we're going to look at those in the dialogue. So in the dialogue here, as it says, listen to the dialogue. So Yonghee and I will read you the dialogue first. I will be Jennifer, and Yonghee, can you read Anne?
Yeah.
Good. Alright, so let's do it. My brother wants to visit me this weekend.
Where does he live?
He lives in New York. He's a designer.
What does he design?
He designs magazine covers. So here in our meaning chunk, we have this were plus the auxiliary do or does, s subject for verb, and then we've got the question mark. So here we can see the question here, were, where, then the do, does, s subject, he, verb, live. It creates a question. Where does he live? Question. And then Jennifer answers, it changes, he lives, and then the where. In New York. Answers the where. And then she says he's a designer. But the point here is Anne asked no question.
TMI.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that later. Then Anne's second question. What does he design? Why is she asking this question? Because Jennifer says he's a designer. So Yonghee, who's he?
Jennifer's brother.
Jennifer's brother. So Jennifer's brother is a designer. So Yonghee says, what does he, Jennifer's brother?
Anne says.
Anne says, what does he, Jennifer's brother, design? And Jennifer's brother says, Jennifer says, he, her brother, designs magazine covers. So here we got, again, from the meaning chart, the were is the what. And then we've got the auxiliary do, but because it's a he, is a does, he, and then your verb, design. So as we say, we've got two were questions. And we'll come back to that. But yes, the other thing is, just out of interest, what is Jennifer's brother's occupation?
His occupation is a designer.
Yeah, so he is a designer. His occupation is designer. So this question, Anne does not ask, but Jennifer gives her the answer, tells her without being asked. Which is why in the next question, Anne asks, what does he design? Right? Because she just knows now that to ask the question about Jennifer's brother. So just to point out, he's a designer is talking about Jennifer's brother, and that's his occupation. Right? So Jennifer's brother's occupation is designer. Even though she wasn't asked the question, she still gave the answer. So as you say, you can ask his or her occupation is. Right? So his occupation is architect, or her occupation is chef, and so on. Talk about occupations. Now, as you pointed out, you've got the where question. Where does she live? and then the W question. And in that, they give information, because these are information questions. Information questions. They are giving information. Yes, Yoonghee?
Write down. Note.
Information. So the where is in New York. The what designs magazine covers. Now we're going to look at this now in the grammar focus.
Oh, I better ready to write down.
So we have grammar focus, present tense. Present tense are talking about things that repeat themselves continuously over time or are happening now. As it says, we got a w plus an auxiliary do. So you can see over here the w questions. Let's look at them in a bit closer. And then you got down here affirmative answers and negative answers.
What's affirmative, Professor?
Affirmative means you know the answer.
You mean positive?
Positive, so you know the answer positively.
That means yes, I know.
And
yes.
Negative are more no, you don't have an answer.
That's why they have an apostrophe T after do.
Yeah, so a little bit of opposites. So in our W questions, these are information questions. The person asking them wants information. So as you can see, we have the W. Who, what, when, why, where, how. Followed by a do. Do, does, do. Alright, so why do? Because here the subject is I. Do, here the subject is you. But if it's she or he, it's does. If it's it, it's does. If it's we, it's do. If it's they, it's do. So these are the auxiliary do verb. Because over here, we have another verb. The other side. So we got like know, like, work, hide, go, travel. And they form the questions.
So, WH questions. What words, when you have what word at the very beginning of a sentence, then you have to use auxiliary do before the subject I, you, she, he, it, we, they, right? Then the main verb comes as its original form.
All finished with a question mark. To make questions. These are information questions because the person asking them wants you to give them information. Now, if you know the answer,
positive,
you give them a positive, affirmative, yes answers or statements. So, answers and statements. So, a statement is a sentence. It's the full sentence. So, these are affirmative. They are positive answers. Positive answers. So, who do I know? Positive answers. You know him. So that means, yes, I know him. Yes, I know him. I know who he is. Who is he? I know him.
So him is the answer to who?
Yeah, him is the cat's father. I know the cat's father. But maybe you want to give a negative answer. So, as Yoonghee mentioned, you have the subject followed by the do. Now, in the affirmative answers, you notice here there's the no do. You can have the do if you wish. Sometimes it's optional. It's optional.
When you want to emphasize.
Emphasize, yes. So here there's no do. But in the negative answers, do. Do. Attached with a not. Don't. See? So here, that means no. I don't know him. No. I don't know him. You don't know him.
Negative marker, not, or an apostrophe T are attached to do, the auxiliary verb do, not the main verb, right?
Mm-hmm. Negative. So it's like, do you like music? No, I don't like music. What music do you like? I don't like music. Negative, negative, very negative. So as you say, you've given the options. You either got an affirmative or a negative. And if it's negative, you add the not. So there you can see, for the who, him, what, music, when,
on weekends,
why,
because it is scared,
where,
home,
how.
by car.
So each question is after a particular type of information. And if it's negative, you put in the auxiliary do and attach a not. Alright, so to practice it, we need some speaking sections. So we're going to try and fit in speaking 1 and 2. So speaking 1 looks at workplaces. Alright, talking about what people do for a living. Oh, do for a living. Alright. When someone asks, what do you do for a living? That is asking about your occupation, your job. So another question to do with jobs. What do you do? What is your occupation? What do you do for a living?
So, what do you do? What is your job or occupation? You can also ask question, what do you do for a living? There's 3 ways to ask question.
Yes, and then we're after an extra bit of information here. Where do you work? So where you work is your workplace. So here in the example, we have, where does Amy work? She's a doctor. Where does she work? She works at Bellevue Clinic. So Bellevue Clinic is where she works, and it is her employer.
Oh, I thought employer is a person. Professor Neil?
Yes, it can be a person and it can be your company. But to notice it, where she works is at Bellevue Clinic. Her employer is Bellevue Clinic. So there's a little bit of difference. So where you work has the at. The employer, which are listed here, there's no at. But when it moves into the sentence or the statement and it attaches the at, it becomes the place. That seems a bit clearer. So what does Amy do? She's a doctor. This is her occupation. Right? It's what she does for a living. Where does she work? At Bellevue Clinic. That is her workplace, and her employer is Bellevue Clinic. So we're going to practice with a few of them. So let's go with Kate. What does Kate do, Yonghee?
She is a waitress.
She is a waitress. Where does she work?
She works at Seaside Restaurant.
So just an extra question here that's not in the book and not a question. Who does she work for?
She works for her employer, Seaside Restaurant.
Oh, very nice. Yes. Her employer. She works for her employer. Where does she work? She works at Seaside Restaurant. What does Thomas do?
Thomas is an accountant.
What? Oh, where does he work?
He works at Reynolds Furniture.
So, who is his employer?
His employer is Reynolds Furniture.
And what is his occupation?
He is an accountant.
Very nice. What does Andrew do?
Andrew is a truck driver.
And where does he work?
He works at Speedy Trucking Dangerous.
Wow, excellent. What does Cecilia do?
She is a photographer.
And where does she work?
She works at Accent Studios.
Yes. So you get the idea. We're talking about occupation. Her occupation is photographer. Her employer is Accent Studio. Her workplace is at Accent Studios. Slight variations. So we're going to say that's the end of part 1. Okay, so second, speaking 2, we have time for lunch. Oh, it should be time for lunch. We have look at the timelines, ask your partner about one of the people's family schedule, then answer your partner's question. So we got Peter and we got Helen. We have the times, and then we have the activities that they do in their daily schedule. So we're going to look at Helen, and we'll leave Peter for homework. So Youngie, what time does Helen leave for work?
She leaves at 7:40.
Yes. So she leaves for work at 7:40.
I really have to write down carefully because this is homework.
Yeah, so you can see here, what time does Helen leave for work? She leaves for work at 7:40. So in my example, I put the parenthesis around for work because technically that's optional as it's already in the question.
It's repeating.
Yes, and we don't want to repeat things. Oh, what time does Helen arrive at work?
She arrives at 8:50.
Yes. What time does Helen have a meeting?
She has a meeting at 11.
So here, she has the meeting. Because here we say a meeting. In the question, we can change it to the because it's being repeated at 11.
She has the meeting at 11.
Yeah.
She has it, which is the meeting, at 11.
Yeah. So there are more options here. It's not just the same style of answering. And you can just say at 11. What time does Helen eat lunch?
She eats lunch at 12:15.
Yes. Or she eats it at 12:15. What time does Helen do sales reports?
She does sales reports at 1:30 p.m.
Very good. And the last one, what time does Helen go home?
She goes home at 5:15.
Yeah, but this one she goes there at 5:15 because it's a place. And that is a very brief and quick example, and hopefully you're watching the video, and if Peter comes up, he'll come up in the homework. So what time does Peter do these things? But he or at the time. Well, that's the end of English 1, Unit 7, and that's the end of Part 1. What does he do? Okay, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.